हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। उम्मीद करता हूँ तमाम देखने और सुनने वाले खैरियत से होंगे और ठीक ठाक होंगे। हमारा जो गोल्स के ऊपर सेक्शन चल रहा था, जो रोज़ाना हम गोल्स के ऊपर के बारे में बात कर रहे थे, तो उसी के हवाले से आज जो है हम इन्फ्लेशंस ऑफ मेजर प्रॉब्लम ऑफ पाकिस्तान के ऊपर डिस्कशन करेंगे और चैट जीपीटी से, और इसके बारे में मज़ीद क्वेश्चन करेंगे इस टॉपिक के ऊपर। इसको डिस्कस करके करेंगे और चलते हैं चैट जीपीटी की तरफ। So hello ChatGPT, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great, thank you. How about you? Let's dive into whatever you'd like to discuss.
ChatGPT, today this is my topic: inflation of major problem of Pakistan. How you are discussing this problem?
Absolutely, that's a really important topic. We can talk about the causes of inflation in Pakistan, its impact on the economy and people, and some potential solutions as well. Just let me know what specific angle you're interested in, and we can get into it.
So, okay, my first this topic related in question: what are the root causes inflation in Pakistan? Domestic mismanagement of global economic pressure.
Absolutely, that's a great question. Inflation in Pakistan can stem from several root causes. Domestically, it can be driven by factors like fiscal mismanagement, excessive money supply, and structural inefficiencies. On the global front, factors like rising commodity prices, exchange rate fluctuations, and international supply chain disruptions can also play a significant role. We can definitely delve deeper into any of these aspects.
So, okay. To what extent the power of government, economic policy, and contribute to persist inflation?
That's a really insightful angle. Government policies can definitely have a significant impact on inflation. For example, fiscal policies like high public spending or large budget deficits can increase money supply, leading to inflation. Similarly, monetary policies like low interest rates or excessive money printing can also contribute. On top of that, regulatory policies and trade policies can affect the cost of imports and overall supply, influencing inflation as well. It's definitely a complex interplay.
So, okay. What has the State Bank of Pakistan failed and control inflation through monetary policy?
That's a crucial question. Pakistan's challenges in controlling inflation through monetary policy often stem from a mix of factors. For instance, the central bank might face difficulties in maintaining an independent policy due to political pressures. Additionally, external factors like global commodity price hikes, exchange rate volatility, and limited foreign reserves can limit the effectiveness of monetary tools. Moreover, structural issues like a large informal economy and weak tax collection also make it harder to control inflation effectively. It's definitely a multifaceted issue.
What role have IMF program play increasing in controlling inflation in Pakistan?
The IMF program can play a significant role in shaping inflation control in Pakistan. Typically, IMF agreements come with conditions that encourage tighter fiscal and monetary policies like reducing budget deficits, controlling money supply, and improving tax revenues. These measures can help stabilize the economy and curb inflation. However, the program can also lead to short-term economic pain, such as increased prices or austerity measures, which can affect the public. Overall, the IMF program aims to create a more sustainable economic environment in the long run.
So, okay.
Got it.
My next
If you
my next question: what is the removal of subsidy and economic necessity and policy failure? Critically analyze why.
Absolutely, that's a really important topic to explore. We can look at how removing subsidies can help reduce fiscal deficits and encourage more efficient resource allocation, but also how it might lead to short-term economic pain for consumers. We can also consider the policy failures that might occur, like inadequate social safety nets or poor implementation. We can definitely dive deeper into these aspects as well.
So okay, why have
Sounds good.
laws against hoarding and profiting reminds inflicting are rising electric and gas prices and biggest drive and inflation and Pakistan. Why?
That's a great point. Rising electricity and gas prices can definitely have a big impact on inflation in Pakistan. When energy costs go up, it not only directly increases the cost of production for businesses, but also raises transportation and food prices, which in turn impacts the overall price level. Moreover, if the government removes subsidies on these utilities, it can further amplify the inflationary pressures. It's a definitely complex cycle that ties together energy policy and inflation.
So okay, uh, my next question.
Of course, feel free to ask your next question whenever you're ready. I'm here to help.
How does Pakistan narrow tax base contribute inflationary pressure?
That's a really important factor. When Pakistan has a narrow tax base, it means that a large portion of economic activity isn't being taxed adequately. This leads to lower government revenue, which can force the government to borrow more or rely on inflationary financing, like printing money. This, in turn, can increase inflation. Additionally, a narrow tax base means that the government might have less capacity to fund public services and social safety nets, which can further exacerbate economic instability. It's definitely a key link in the inflation chain.
So, okay, how has an impact depend economy intensified influence in Pakistan, inflection in Pakistan?
Absolutely. Dependence on imports can definitely amplify inflation in Pakistan. When the country relies heavily on imported goods, any increase in global prices like oil, food, or raw materials directly affects domestic prices. Additionally, fluctuations in the exchange rate can make imports more expensive, further pushing up inflation. This dependence can also lead to a vulnerability to global economic shocks, making it harder to stabilize prices domestically. It's definitely a significant factor in the inflationary dynamic.
What is the impact has failure of the agriculture sector had on food price?
The agriculture sector plays a huge role in food prices, so any failure or inefficiency there can drive up costs significantly. For instance, poor crop yields due to factors like inadequate irrigation, outdated farming techniques, or climate change can reduce supply and lead to higher food prices. Additionally, inefficiencies in distribution, storage, and transportation can exacerbate shortages and push prices up further. Ultimately, a struggling agriculture sector can create inflationary pressures in the food market, affecting consumers directly.
What is a so okay? Uh, to what extent to allied privileges and tax examinations, women inflations, and how has the impact depend economy, inflation, and Pakistan?
That's a really interesting angle. When a country relies heavily on imports, it can definitely make inflation more pronounced. For instance, if a large portion of goods are imported, then any depreciation in the local currency or an increase in global prices can directly push domestic prices higher. This can lead to a kind of imported inflation. On the other hand, if there are significant taxes or tariffs on imports, that can also raise domestic prices and contribute to inflation. Ultimately, the more dependent the economy is on imports, the more vulnerable it becomes to closures.
So okay, uh, what impact and the failure? What is the impact of the failure of agriculture has been food and practice?
Absolutely. The failure underperformance of the agriculture sector can have a direct and significant impact on food prices. When agricultural production is low due to poor crop yields, adverse weather conditions, lack of modern farming techniques, or inadequate infrastructure, it leads to reduced supply of food products. This scarcity drives prices up, making food less affordable for consumers. Moreover, it can increase reliance on imports to fill the gap, which can further drive up costs due to import expenses and currency fluctuations. Ultimately, a weak agriculture sector can lead to persistent food inflation.
So, okay, how can responsibility for inflation be divided between federal and province governments?
That's a great question. In Pakistan, both federal and provincial governments share responsibilities that can influence inflation. For instance, the federal government typically handles monetary policy through the central bank, and it sets national fiscal policies, duties, and tariffs, all of which can impact inflation. On the other hand, provincial governments are more involved in areas like agriculture, local taxation, and provincial level infrastructure, all of which can affect supply and prices locally. When provinces manage resources poorly or face inefficiencies in their sectors, it can lead to regional inflationary pressures. So, in essence, both levels of government play interconnected roles in either mitigating or exacerbating inflation.
So, okay. Has inflation become a threat and national security and society stability?
Absolutely. Inflation can indeed become a threat to both national security and societal stability. When prices rise sharply, it can lead to a decrease in the purchasing power of people, which especially affects low-income families and can increase poverty and inequality. This can lead to social unrest, protests, and even political instability. On a broader scale, prolonged inflation can weaken economic growth, strain public resources, and even impact national security by creating instability that can be exploited. So inflation definitely has far-reaching consequences beyond just the economy.
So, okay, if current inflation and trends continue, what will be long-term social impact of Pakistan?
If inflation remains high over the long term, it can have several profound social impacts on Pakistan. For one, it can erode the purchasing power of households, making it harder for families to afford basic necessities like food, healthcare, and education. This can increase poverty rates and widen income inequality. Over time, it can also lead to reduced investments in human capital as people might struggle to access quality education and healthcare. Social unrest can grow as inequality and frustration rise, potentially leading to political instability. Ultimately, sustained inflation can hinder long-term development.
So, okay, it is possible and control inflation without deep structural reforms.
It can be quite challenging to control inflation effectively without undertaking structural reforms. Short-term measures like tightening monetary policy or adjusting interest rates can provide temporary relief. However, sustainable inflation control often requires addressing deeper issues like improving productivity, diversifying the economy, enhancing tax collection, and strengthening supply chains. Without these structural reforms, inflation can become a recurring problem, and efforts to manage it might only be temporary. So while short-term fixes help, long-term stability usually depends on comprehensive structural changes.
So, okay, what is the relation between public trust, inflation, and management?
The relationship between public trust and inflation management is quite significant. When people have confidence in the government and central bank's ability to control inflation, they're more likely to support and tolerate necessary economic measures. This trust helps maintain stability and prevents panic or speculation that could worsen inflation. On the other hand, if the public loses trust in how inflation is being managed, it can lead to decreased confidence in the currency, increased speculation, and even capital flight. Ultimately, high level of public trust is crucial for effective inflation control and overall economic stability.
So, okay, thank you, ChatGPT, and this topic related in discussion and gave me more information.
You're very welcome. I'm glad we could dive into the topic. If you ever have more questions or want to explore any other aspects in the future, just let me know. I'm always here to help.
No, thank you, ChatGPT. तो जी नाज़रीन, ये था आज का हमारा महंगाई के ऊपर डिस्कशन। उम्मीद करता हूँ आपकी आज को आपको ये वीडियो अच्छी लगी होगी। ज़िंदगी रही तो आपके साथ फिर होगी मुलाकात। तब तक रखिएगा